It's September 2025, and my heart is filled with joy as we head into the autumn. And the reason for it? It's been such a wonderful summer of cricket. We have witnessed one of the most exciting Test cricket series between England and India in men's cricket. Behind me is the Lord's Cricket Ground, the home of cricket, where one of the most thrilling Test matches was played in July. England and India women's teams have also played their series in England over the summer. The Asia Cup is being played by the cricketing nations in Asia as we speak, and England and Ireland are also playing a cricket series right now. As a fan of cricket, these are exciting times because the short format cricket, a match that lasts 3 hours rather than 5 days, has made the sport popular around the world. 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles will see both men's and women's cricket being played. Closer to home, the village cricket pitches all around England have been buzzing all summer with the grassroots version of the sport. If you don't know what T20 cricket is, not to worry. It's cricket on steroids. It's cricket with the intensity of baseball and with a lot of flamboyance, color, and light thrown into it. It's basically short format cricket where a game lasts for around 3 hours as opposed to 5 days in the traditional format of the cricket called Test cricket. As a sport, cricket is as colonial as a sport can get. It was introduced by predominantly English gentlemen in their colonies around the world and was not only played there but used as a tool to exercise colonial power to distinguish between us, as in worthy and civilized British gentlemen who play cricket, a gentleman's sport, and them, or unworthy and uncivilized native populations who don't know how to play cricket. As a colonial subject myself, born and brought up in a former British colony, India, I am intrigued by how far cricket has come as a sport between the late 19th century, when it became popular in the colonies, and the late 20th century, when the first Cricket World Cup was played in 1975. That World Cup tournament was hosted in England, played by 8 teams, with the West Indies lifting the trophy in a closely contested final between Australia and the West Indies. It strikes me that cricket has followed a fascinating process of what can only be described as decolonisation. I am not an expert in decolonial thought, but I have followed the discussion of decolonisation in the academy with considerable interest. The word decolonisation was first coined by the German economist Moritz Julius Bonn in the 1930s to describe former colonies that achieved self governance. Today, decolonisation seeks to identify, support, and legitimize knowledge systems that are outside the Western mainstream knowledge systems. For example, indigenous environmental knowledge is important to the management of natural resources today, or local knowledge of invasive species management is often more effective than technologically intensive ways to manage them. Decolonization of knowledge is about learning from such alternatives and embracing that diversity of knowledge systems and different ways of looking at the world to make the world a better place than it would be if only one knowledge system ruled. You might still ask, what has cricket got to do with decolonization? A very good question, and I'm going to think through that question here. Speaking autobiographically, I'm going to reflect on my own experience of living as a colonial subject in India, growing up with cricket during my youth, growing into cricket in England as an adult, and my engagement with some of the post colonial literature in social sciences. So, going back to cricket, why do I think cricket is a sport that has undergone, in some very fascinating ways, what can be described as the process of decolonization? For starters, the final of the men's T20 Cricket World Cup in June 2024 was played between India and South Africa, both former British colonies. As a matter of fact, all of the main cricketing nations, such as Pakistan or Sri Lanka, And most of the newcomers to T20 cricket, such as United States or Canada, have colonial connections with Britain. In international men's cricket, if you put together trophies won in all formats recognized by the International Cricket Council, ODI World Cup, T20 World Cup, Champions Trophy, and the World Test Championship, Australia is the most decorated nation with 10 trophies. India has 7, the West Indies has 5, England, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka each have 3, New Zealand and South Africa each have 2. So the former colonies of Britain and the colonial subjects therein have won 10 times more trophies than the country that is considered home of cricket. A colonial sport has been truly emancipated, not just through its popularity in the former British colonies, but also through the passion with which cricket is played, and, perhaps more importantly, supported by the cricket fans all over the world. As a sport, cricket has changed massively. The first striking change is the length of the game, and second change is those who play it. The 5-day Test cricket has given way to 3-hour T20 format, which to some extent has contributed to a greater interest in the sport. Cricket as a sport has also become more diverse. The protagonists of the sport have changed from posh English gentlemen to a much more diverse range of players from different nationalities, ethnicities, social classes, and economic backgrounds. Many Indian cricketers, for example, come from very poor backgrounds but have made their name and achieved fame through cricket. Women's cricket is also taking off in all of the main cricket playing nations, with India and South Africa women's teams having played a bilateral series in July 2024. But despite these changes, the rules of cricket have remained the same. Cricket is still played with a wooden bat, typically made of English willow, and a hard ball made of leather, string, and cork. There are still 11 players on each side. There are still 6 balls in each over. And the length of the cricket pitch in adult matches is still 22 yards, no matter where in the world the sport is played. But it is still very evident that cricket has come a long way from its colonial roots and has become a much more inclusive and pluralistic sport. The decolonization of knowledge also strives for inclusion and pluralism and is increasingly pushing for opportunities to ventilate scholarship from the global south, scholarship from women, and scholarship from indigenous and racially minoritized scholars. That is all part of the decolonial project. Here, I'll focus on 3 issues. First issue, the rules of the game, or the knowledge frameworks within which we operate. What the new shorter format of cricket have done is provided an opportunity for players with diverse talents to shine. Cricket is a sport where precision is very important, and that precision is not just about where the ball hits the bat. It is also about how the ball bounces, how high it bounces, how sharply it spins after bouncing, how far the ball swings, which part of the bat it hits, whether it hits in the middle of the blade or on the edge. Also, what the weather conditions are like, what the soil type is like, whether there is grass on the pitch, whether the pitch has cracks, how wide and deep the cracks are. There is an endless number of variables and a complex knowledge system around the theory and practice of cricket. Obviously, there are basic laws of physics that govern the interface between the ball and the ground, and that between the ball and the bat. There is also physics behind the trajectory that the ball takes after it has hit the bat. And depending on that trajectory, whether or not the fielder is able to catch the ball or whether it goes all the way over the boundary. The core of that knowledge system remains the same, no matter what the format and the length of a game. What does this mean for the decolonization of knowledge? Does the decolonization of knowledge need to operate within certain rules or within a certain framework? Or is decolonization about throwing away old frameworks and adopting new ones? If so, what is the decolonization project trying to change? And how can it go about challenging if, if the rules of knowledge production are so deeply entrenched in the academy? Being realistic, we probably can't start with a blank slate, but how can we decolonize knowledge in ways that goes beyond just tinkering around the edges? Second issue, the importance of local conditions or local knowledge systems. When cricket is played in different countries and in different contexts, what changes is how the rules of physics are applied to the local conditions. For example, the pitches in England, Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand are generally more bouncy, suitable for fast bowlers, whereas the pitches on the Indian subcontinent or in the Caribbean are dry, more suitable for spin bowlers. The weather conditions and the amount of moisture in the air also influences how the game is played. And the choice of players often depends on the pitch conditions that the team is likely to encounter. Such local variation in, let's call them external conditions, and the immersive local knowledge of those conditions is very important for the player. If a player has been trained in England and has never played on a dry pitch, they will find it very difficult to face the spin bowlers on South Asian pitches. So, an immersive experience of being at the location and playing on the pitch is very important. The same can be said of scholarship in the Global South. A scholar from the Global South who has immersive experience of being at the location will offer a perspective that a scholar from the Global North cannot. In other words, to fully understand scholarship from the Global South, the scholar from the Global North has to be prepared to step into the shoes of their Global South counterpart. How can the decolonial project accomplish that? What opportunities are there for more openness to others' perspectives? And equally, what barriers are the scholars from the Global South likely to encounter in being able to offer their perspectives? What opportunities are there for more equitable collaborations, partnerships, and sharing of knowledge, recognizing that scholars from both parts of the world have something different to bring to the table? Third issue, tackling elitism, racism, and sexism. If I have painted a rosy picture of cricket so far, I want to say that cricket is, of course, not without its problems. A landmark report by the Independent Commission for Equity in Cricket concluded in 2023 that English cricket is racist, sexist, and elitist. The report was based on a survey of more than 4,000 players, coaches, administrators, and supporters. 87% of survey participants of Pakistani and Bangladeshi heritage, along with 82% of Indian and 75% of black respondents, said that they had experienced discrimination. The report pointed out that the England women's team are yet to play a test at Lord's, the home of cricket. At the grassroots level, women's teams are frequently demeaned, stereotyped, and treated as second class. The report found that private school and old boys networks and cliques permeate the game to the exclusion of many, and cited stories of children from state schools being called peasants or having their working class accents mimicked. So, even though cricket has become a much more pluralistic and inclusive sport in the former British colonies, in its own homeland, cricket is struggling to shake off its image as elitist, racist, and sexist sport. There is room for a deep reflection for cricket players and supporters. The academy also has much more to reflect on. Parts of the academy can be similarly accused of being racist, sexist, and elitist, attributes that are partly a product of colonial ways of thinking and continue to persist today. So there is work to be done for the decolonial project, and that work needs to happen much closer to home, not somewhere out there, but right in here. How can we go about that? How can we square the circle between the decolonization of cricket in former British colonies and the enduring colonial mindsets in English cricket? How can we address similar mindsets in some parts of the academy that can jeopardize the decolonial project? So, quite a lot for the decolonial project to reflect on, and quite a few parallels between decolonization of knowledge and the broadening out of cricket in former British colonies. This leaves us with a number of questions. What knowledge frameworks should decolonization operate within? How can the knowledge systems be ventilated within or without the existing frameworks? And how can we tackle elitism, racism, and sexism which so often compromise the decolonial project. Cricket perhaps serves as an example from which to learn and to begin to answer these questions. Thank you.